folks. George, you ready? All right. Good evening, everyone. This is the November 14th, 2024 Town of Monroe Planning Board meeting. Noreen, would you please do roll call?
Branson,
Here.
Jeff Manson,
Here.
Pat Shea,
Here.
Dylan Penn,
Here.
Lou Rivera.
Here.
Thank you.
We have a quorum, so we can conduct business. I'd like to point out the fire exits. There are two in front of me and to the rear of the audience. Another to my left, the main entrance into the building, and then another out this way toward the patio. Would we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the All right, first on the agenda are new projects. We have Moses Hirsch, 47 Springs Road. Whoever's representing, if you'd please come up. And just state your name for the record.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Yitzchak Stein. I'm with Ideal Design, came to represent my client, 47 Seven Springs Road, Monroe. Client is looking to propose a new additional unit on his existing property that is under the new 2FO zoning. We presented the plans and the...
Is that on? George, turn them on?
Yeah, it's
Okay. All right, thank you.
We presented the plans, the proposed for the proposed addition, and the proposed septic design based on all the rules and regulations that is set forth in the code.
And could you just describe what you're proposing?
Yeah, so we are proposing, so there's a single family unit on the property, and the customer wants to propose an additional unit, so it's being a two-family from now on. So he's not looking to demolish the existing. He just wants to add another one.
Another unit.
Another unit on the site, yes, attached.
So with that, I'll ask our engineer first to see if he has any comments on this application.
Sure. We had a few comments just to summarize the application first, and basically summarize that there's no variances needed based on the current layout. Next, we noted that the sanitary sewer disposal system is proposed to be replaced. We'll need to witness and percolation tests. Contact our office to witness testing. The next comment was with regards to the tree plan. We don't have to really get into the weeds of it, but essentially the application proposes the clearing of 5 trees. So I wanted to bring it to light that you can replace them if you have enough room on site in order to avoid or to reduce the fee that would have to be paid to the parkland. The EAF noted that we're in the vicinity of the Indiana bat and northern long-eared bat, so the tree clearing restriction, time of year restriction should be added to the plan unless you look to get the time of year restriction for the clearing for the bats.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's for the SHPO report.
Not SHPO, the bats for tree clearing. So you can't, the standard mitigation is that you can't clear between November 1st and March 31st. Right. Did I say that wrong? Only clear during. November 1st. Next, there was a hit for SHPO on the AF. If you could submit to the CRIS system and get a response from SHPO. Next, the architectural plans for layout were provided, but not elevations. So the board has architectural review authority, so they can decide or have input on colors and types of materials. So all of those should be listed on the elevation. Next, the number of bedrooms for each unit, if you could list that on the site plan. Obviously, the bedrooms drive the septic design, so that's why that's important. Then you're modifying the pavement and parking area, but it wasn't clear what's existing versus what's proposed, pavement-wise and sidewalk-wise.
So that's on the site plan?
On the site plan, yes. Next, the well. There's an existing well there. I assume you're going to reuse that well to serve the new dwelling. So typically we see a review by an engineer signed and sealed stating that there's sufficient capacity in the well. And then next, I believe, and we should confirm with Ashley, that it's exempt from GML referral. And lastly, we should, the board should type the action consultation with.
What is that in regard to the GML?
Sorry?
What is the last one you said, the GML?
The last one was seeker. We should
Oh, the
type the
seeker.
action. Yep.
So Ashley?
Sure, so it is exempt under the, oh, there, okay, there we go. It is exempt from GML review under the agreement with the county. Under seeker, it would be a type 2 action for construction of a two-family home on an approved lot. I had a few more comments. So on the plan, general note number 4 says that you're disturbing 40,000 square feet, which I believe is an error because the property itself is only 35,000. So if you could correct that number. Also, it wasn't clear from the bulk table if you used the net lot area when you were doing the minimum area, where you have to factor out certain constraints. On sheet number 1, you do have the tree preservation note, but at the end, it looks like it's cut off, so I don't know if it was just the formatting of the plan perhaps, but there's just some,
Which one?
the tree preservation note on sheet 1. It kind of trails off at the end, it's a little cut off.
Over here, if you look at you probably can't
the
see it.
wording?
Yeah,
I don't know,
it ends 750 per tree improperly removed or just,
Where?
it's on the map, the bottom left, the end of that note, there's wording cut off. Got it? That just has to be
I thought
fixed.
you're saying that the wording is coming into the lot line and we can't see something over there.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
probably
no,
have to
just
just.
it might,
The note
the
is
note itself,
truncated.
it's just, I don't know if it's the font size or it just needs to be formatted. So Sean had talked about the tree plan. The tree plan will have to be referred to the MCC, and the board may want your landscape architect to review as well. I don't know if they're going to be changing that, though, to add trees, in which case you'd want to wait to make that referral until that's shown. That's it for now.
So board members, does anyone have any comments? I'll start to my left. Lou? Not anything?
No
of the
comment
same?
right now.
Jeff?
Yeah, a few questions, comments. Is there a basement in the new plan? I don't see that on the plans, but I didn't know if it was going to be, the first floor is sitting on a slab or?
Yeah, that's correct. So it's basically they don't want to do a basement. It's a bi-level style house, so there's no basement over here. So the lowest level will be the level that is on the far left. So that's walk-in, and as the topo from the property is basically the back, the kitchen area is also going to be walk-in in the back. So it's like a sloped portion of the property.
The way the architectural is labeled, there's a level 1, a level 2, a level 3, and a level 4. So is it a split level with 4 levels?
That's correct. That's
that-
correct. It's like
okay.
4 different levels. Yes.
That we know. Reviewing the application package, it looked to me that, and I'll defer to Ashley on this, but the owner's endorsement, the project opening form, the entity disclosure form were all incomplete. And I wanted to ask Ashley, so on the EAF, the description is literally, give me a moment. Proposed addition, second unit. And I didn't know if that was too brief for the EAF, if it should be some more detail in there about what's actually being proposed here, with square footage, stories, something that would indicate the level of impact beyond.
So typically, I would say it would be good to have that information, but because this is a type 2 action under
Not
seeker, you won't
necessary.
be doing environmental review, so
That's all I have right now. Oh, I'm sorry, one more thing. For the existing unit, will there be any changes at all to that unit other than the new septic going in,
No.
including the exteriors, or?
Yeah, that's correct. It stays as is. Nothing being changed.
So is the plan for the addition to have the same look as the existing home, both in color and in style?
Yeah, as requested, we will provide the exterior elevation, and yeah, this is our intention to try to match it. I mean,
From what
But-
little I could see with the existing property, it looked like that too was a split-level home. Is that,
it's a high range.
okay.
The thing is that it's an old unit. I mean,
Yeah.
so making it very similar is not an option really. I mean,
Right.
what would the board request for that? And then,
Well, initially, that was just my question as to what I can expect when you do provide elevations. So I know what we're getting into.
so you prefer it should be similar?
Also, I
you
think.
you need to see the existing, what you're, second, because you'll have to compare it to the existing and make sure it's cohesive.
So since we're reviewing the two-family dwelling structure, are we approving, from an architectural perspective, the entire building? And so we need to kind of see how the whole thing blends together.
Yeah.
So it's up to you how you want to do that. We just need to see how what they're going to look like.
So the board prefers that
The building.
it should look, blending in. I mean, it shouldn't be
Well,
totally different.
Or if
I
you're going to
mean,
be
it could be
changing
different,
the
but-
existing, I think
we're
the two,
changing existing, that's correct.
so if you're changing, everything, then it's essentially, you'd be kind of starting from scratch, or if you're trying to, keep the existing facade and just add something that complements it, it's really,
We'll probably try to match some sort of the existing. I mean, it's like,
it's up to you. We just need to, and then see if it all kind of hangs together.
yeah.
So,
All right.
but, I think that's something for you to look into. So in terms of my comments, you have total 8-bedroom dwelling with addition. So the building in its entirety with the addition will have 8 bedrooms total, you're saying?
So there is,
How many are in the,
it's I think it's listed, the existing is listed a 3-bedroom on the county's map, on the county's website. So it's a 3-bedroom house. The new one is going to be additional 4 bedrooms.
then it's 7, not 8?
So then it's 7.
Okay. So I think whatever that is, we just need to know for the plans. Or if you're using it for 4 now, and then you're gonna add 4, then it's 8, it's just a matter of sizing the septic system properly.
Right. So I think there was a confusion with the site engineer regarding the basement. They have a home office over there, and he might be counted it as a bedroom. So
Okay. Yeah, just clarify what.
I'll clarify that,
What
yes.
you are requesting, and it comes down to the septic system.
that's correct. Yeah.
And then my only comment well, not only comment, but the comment on the site plan is it's a little difficult to tell what is going to happen post-construction with the driveway and the parking. It looks like you might be putting a pad in here. This looks like an outline of a curb, so you're going to expand the asphalt drive. And then it looks like there are 4 parking spaces in here, but the concrete walk is still, you still see it extending into the parking area. So I think we just,
Yeah, that's confusing. Okay.
yeah, so with darker lines, if you could somehow outline it in a way so we know what the changes are for sure.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So if the concrete walk is going away, then somehow show that.
So we don't have a new curb cut. We're just expanding the asphalt.
You're going to expand the asphalt and then
Yeah.
add the 4 parking spaces.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. And so then the concrete walk is going to go around, it looks like now?
Yeah. It like
And that piece will be
shifts
removed?
till after the parking.
Okay. So it looks like the walk will come this way now, right?
Yeah. That's correct.
And then this piece is going to get removed?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. So, and then this will now be the new paved area. So again, what we like to see is that it's just highlighted to understand what the changes are, or add a little note, new pavement area or whatever.
All right. Makes sense.
Driveway also, then it extends your building where the driveway is now, so make that clear, like towards the left there.
That it's being removed, I guess.
Yeah, and anything then on the left side of the buildings too, if that's all staying or being removed. Because I think that's parking over there.
Are you looking over here, Ashley,
Yeah.
or where?
Yeah, over there.
Yeah, because you have all this concrete.
Exactly.
So it used to come in this way, and is there a side garage? Was there a garage over here?
It's like a walkway.
Yeah, there was
In here?
once. No, on the side. There. I don't know when, but
It looks like it came around this
no,
way and then,
that's a pathway. It looks like just a pathway going
Okay.
up the hill. But the driveway was probably on the side of the house, I guess.
okay, so it was right in
Yeah,
here.
that's
Okay.
walk-in.
Yeah, so again, just to, whatever is being removed or whatever no longer is, we just need that somehow shown. So that's clear to us. Okay? And those are my comments. Pat?
No questions.
Dylan?
No questions, thank you.
So for this
I
evening,
just wanted to see if Jeff, I wanted to just go over the comments he had on some of the forms.
Sure. On the project opening form, there's nothing really indicating,
Checking off what it,
right, what we're doing. Site plan, special permit, were any fees paid? On the, what do I have here? The application was okay. On the owner's endorsement, underneath Mr. Hirsch's name and address, I still think that County of Orange, State of New York should be filled in, even though it's not an entity owner, it's an individual owner. That should probably be filled in. When we're looking at the entity disclosure form,
get that one? Change on the owner's endorsement?
Yeah,
Okay, great.
on the entity disclosure form, I think we should be seeing Mr. Hirsch's information listed in section B rather than just NA throughout.
On the
On the entity disclosure form?
disclosure pursuant to 809, or,
No.
okay.
The one where it talks about,
'Cause I believe that's only for an entity, so since it's owned by an individual as opposed to an entity like an LLC.
I read the verbiage in section B, and it is a little confusing. But even stating listing all persons or beneficial owners, I think there needs to be some sort of disclosure on this form of what the ownership of the property is. I believe that's the intent of the form. So, and if I remember correctly, when we've had individuals who were owners, that was still disclosed on this form. You would just, it's appropriate to do NA in Section A, where it's disclosing the information about the entity. Yes, there's no entity, but there are
Owner itself.
beneficial owners of the property, in this case, Mr. Hirsch.
Understand that?
Yeah. Where is it in section B?
Section B, yes.
I guess, yeah. Okay.
So it's white right now, looks like it's white with vinyl siding, correct?
Yeah, it is white, yes.
Okay. Right, so for this, obviously you need some revisions that have to be made to the plans. Should we resolve that this is a type 2 action this evening? So I will make a motion that the planning board deem the proposed action, expansion of a single-family dwelling into a two-family dwelling, as a type 2 action. May I have a second? Lou seconded. Noreen?
Aye.
Pat Shea,
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Is there anything else we need to do this evening? So we'll wait to get the plans back, some more information on the aesthetics, the architecture, and then you'll be able to get back on the agenda.
All right,
All right, thank you.
thank you. Have a nice day. Good night.
All right, returning projects, Monroe Commons.
Good evening, Madam Chair.
Ding.
Hello?
So I just wanted quick clarification. So I was sent lighting plans this evening, and there are 3 different emails. Do each of them have something different, or it was just a repeat?
I guess the same.
So,
Look at the last one.
so I'm looking at I have one
One has one attachment.
that's,
No, go to the last one.
okay, so all of them are different?
No, go to the 3, the last one.
The last one and one.
No, you don't need to go.
This one?
No, only the last one.
So only, this is the last one, 644?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let me just open the files then. Correct. I'm opening the correct files. Now, this is just received, so the board doesn't have it, nor does our engineer.
Well, it was.
So you'll need to
It was changed after we got in the afternoon chance comments, so it was changed to that, so. It came
That's
in-
why I don't like handing out comments before the meeting.
That's good. It was just basically accommodating some of them.
So let's just remember to talk into the mic. All right, let me X out that. All right, so I think we're ready. If you want to start, Dan?
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. As you may recall, my name is Daniel Richmond. I'm with the law firm Zarin and Steinmetz, 81 Main Street, White Plains, New York, and with me is Isaac Gross on behalf of the applicant. We're with you this evening on behalf of a few cleanup items, I would say. The first is you asked for some details on the lighting plan, which Isaac can speak to. I think we've addressed in the lighting plan that's been submitted and has been revised based on the most recent comments we received from your engineer today. And we think it meets the objectives of your board, and that's a condition that your board, as you recall, of your site plan approval for the project. Your board's sign off on this lighting plan.
So, Sean, why don't we start with you since you've been reviewing the plans?
So at a previous meeting, I don't know if it was the last time this application was before the board, but there had been discussions about trying to limit hotspots on the site. with regards to the lighting. In my opinion, they've made significant changes to address those. The one area of concern that I saw was below the poles where 4 lights are mounted to them, and generally they're about where Bonnie is pulling up. It would be the southwest corner of the site, so closest, we'll say, to Joel Mann's property there, the front along Ninja. So what they're trying to do is use one pole with 4 lights to shed light as far as it can get it. And what that does is right below the lights, it creates these hot spots around 10-foot candles. As you get 15, 20 feet away, it does drop to about 6 or 7. And I would say on average, it's probably less than that. But I know that was one area of concern for the board that I just want to bring to your attention. Generally, on the site lighting, this is more or less the highest areas of light. So it was a little confusing because it didn't look like the site lighting and the building mounted lighting were on the same plan. And so when I was reviewing this plan in particular, near the building, near portions of the building, there are low levels of light, particularly in the main entrance towards the front, as well as towards the rear where there's a walkway between levels 2 and 3. However, as I noted, there was another section, and maybe Isaac, you can help clarify this. There was another plan that was provided where building-mounted lighting was then integrated into the plan that may have addressed those areas, but I think there are some hot spots on that plan as well. Can you shed some light on?
Yeah, so,
Unintended.
Yeah.
so yeah, at the meeting what we had, I think it was 2 meetings ago, and I think Bonnie wasn't here at all. That's when it came up that the plan was not taking consideration the facade lighting, let's call it. I think the guy called it, if you look at page, if you roll down, you'll see that I split it in 3. Originally, I was planning to combine it, but it didn't work out because the software that the engineers are using are not really working the same when you do site lighting and facade lighting, so I left it separately. But yeah, that meeting came up that the board wants to see actually the lights from the facade plugged in and make sure that it doesn't go too high, too low, and it works with the overall plan. So that's when I had my engineer go, and that's actually the one that you're looking at. And they did the calculation. So it is separated because when they started overlaying it, it didn't work. It's 2 separate softwares in 2 separate ways. So that's why we split it. And I did have one plan that the roof was together, but it also confused everything because it's 4 stories above, and it's not giving the real information. So that's why the PDF that we sent, not only this one, the one before, is split in 3 sections. The first one is the general lighting. The second one is the facade lighting that he calls landscape and or whatever. I forgot what name he calls it, but you can go back, you'll see it. And the third one is just the roof by itself. So that's why you're seeing on the general lighting the numbers very low, because if I would add I would make that numbers higher, the facade light would plug in and start picking up the numbers very high. So that's why you're seeing such low numbers on the general, because you have to go to the facade lighting and look at them and see what the real number surrounding the building at the near 10 feet area.
Right, so to that end, then we'll call it the second set where the facade lighting is proposed. There's some areas of 17-foot candles and some other higher levels. I guess
On the facade?
It's not
with the facade lighting.
So let
The
me
facade
explain
lighting?
that. So that's, for example, under canopy, we do have higher, because when you walk into a store at Canopy, you want to have a little light. It's not a general outside light. You always look at a building and you have specific, when you walk in the building by itself, 17 is going to be very dark. So as you walk into the building, you want to get a little higher light in order to get, wherever you go, you see that. So we watched on that below 10, as we discussed, actually below 8 in general. But when it comes to actual walking into a building, that's where always it's going to be a little higher. I mean, I could bring it down, but in reality, I don't think you want a building, it's really dark when you get close to a building, not to get at least up to 20, between 15 and 20 numbers right next to the building walking in. And that's where you see the high numbers. It's mostly under the canopies.
Yeah, I agree, it's right next to the building. I'm just raising it for the board because I know there was concern
Yeah,
about
it's not even,
hot
it's
spots.
almost under the canopy where it's like you'll see it mostly under the canopies because that's where you have people walking a lot. On the general,
And
close
you're-
to the building, you see it less actually.
Where are you seeing 17?
Probably at the mall entry, right in the
On
Is
center.
it the
mall
main?
entry, Yep.
Yeah.
Right in
I think
here?
that's
Right
where
in
it's
there.
high, yeah. No, not there. Go a little more left. Right under the canopy.
Over
That
here?
doesn't match
Yeah.
what mine is, because I have 17 right where you had just. right
Oh, where
you
I
just
was
were.
So he
Before?
worked, as I said, they worked today, whatever they were accomplishing. Not everything they were able to fix, but some of them
This
they
is a
fixed.
newer version that you
They bored
submitted
it
today?
down. Listen, I'm going to show you on the roof also. We bored it down very low. And I'm here to show it to the board that if I go down very low in those places, it gets very dark. I prefer that we should leave that version that you have on the facade because when you walk into the facade, it's a little, you want to have a little lighter.
But 8 or 9 that you have there, I think is very well lit.
When you get to inside the building, I could agree. I mean,
No,
I did it. but
Eight
I
or nine,
personally-
8 or 9 is not uncommon for like underneath a gas station canopy.
Okay.
So that's pretty high. So I'm a little less concerned about it there than I am, in the parking areas. And in fact, if you have high parking area, you're not really going to see the nice lighting at the building as much. So I had a question whether instead of so I know we still need to have enough parking for security, lighting for parking security. When you go to 3 light luminaires instead of 4, what effect were you finding as far as light levels?
Well, it depends the distance from the light. So that's the game that we're playing the last few months with those versions, with the engineer. I mean, obviously, it's not just, those numbers are not just typed in, it's all computerized that it gives it out. So as you see, yes, he did that exact spot, just to be correct, just to fill in on Sean, that spot was 17. So you're right, the version that you had till the afternoon. So we went through your comments and we made those changes. I personally would like the board to give me the allowance to have there 17 because it is a main entrance and there's a lot of traffic there. But if the board prefers to have that number, I could live with that. On the roof is a little, I think that's where you're going to look soon and see that it's even lower. But in regards to the question of 3 to 4, it's not just a question about do you type in 3 or 4. Obviously, we're on the same page on that. As you bring it down there, it gets less as further as you go. We put in a lot of lights in the area. We added actually, in the beginning was much less lighting, light poles. We added a lot, actually from the meeting that we met, we added a lot of poles in order to be able to go lower and not lose the distance further away that it should be almost to there.
Your point is where there's 4 light poles with 4 lights on it, in between,
As further you go, you
in
can
the
see
center
numbers dropping.
between the 2 poles, right there, it gets to about 0.8, which is about the lowest you want to
0.08.
go.
0.08, you mean?
0.8.
Oh, 0.8, yeah, okay,
Oh,
0.8,
one.
yeah, sorry, yeah. There is actually spots that you could see even less. I mean, you see a point 1.
But that's what you're trying to manage, is to use the 4
Correct.
lights to throw it that far so that in between you have sufficient light levels, which
Yeah,
is
and-
causing these hot
correct.
spots.
Correct, but
And-
I did have less poles when we met 2 months ago, and we added, I think, 6 or 7 poles in order to accommodate your request that it shouldn't be above 8 anywhere, and the average, as that's why I see in the bulk table that we submitted in there was originally, but I put it in the front page, that the average came out to literally as 1, less than 2, I think, if we look at the bulk table. Yeah, you can see it, 0.88, 0.62, so those are the averages. In one place there's 3.25, that's just by the loading. So I think that the catch-22 there is if you go too low here, and that's why when you ask 3 to 4, it just has the effect, and you have to add more poles, and that's what we did. So I think this plan is a long, long way to get to the point where it's balanced, and we don't have anything above 8. There was a few spots that you picked up, which I don't know if we fixed it now, but I could commit to fix them to get them below 10, below 8, as Bonnie asked for. But I think that balance of below 8 and average of as little as it's on the bulk table, that should give the comfortable position for the town, for the board to actually satisfy this.
So 25 feet is the height of the light posts. That's actually fairly low for a shopping center, right? Aren't typical shopping centers much higher light posts?
More, yeah, they have the 40.
Like
If you go to Woodbury
45.
County,
Right,
yeah.
because they're trying to throw the light as far as they can by
Right.
getting it up higher.
So part of the reason we have a hot spot is because they're lower. If they were 35 feet,
It would spread
But the
better.
you
concern-
wouldn't have the hot spot below, but now you're spreading it farther.
And it can be seen from further.
Right, because it's gonna be up as opposed to being lower in the landscape.
Yeah, to be honest, the version 5 or 6 was 35 to 40. I think Woodbury Commons is 40 or more, 40 something. So we had the same lights as Woodbury Commons at the height of 40.
But you brought it down.
We brought it down because we saw that the town by itself wanted, I think, 20, if you remember, the board expressed 20, so 25 was the minimum we were able to bring it down, but that's also part of this whole puzzle.
Are we doing a waiver to,
They're requesting
Yeah.
a waiver to exceed, I think the max allowed is 20?
20,
yeah,
correct.
so you're doing it by 5.
So that's why we brought it down from 35,
Right.
40 to 20, to 25. I mean, if we could bring it up higher, yes, it would definitely help.
So let me go to the board members. So we wanted to talk about the foot candles. And so I see the balancing that's happening with actually, you were going to say something before we move on. We're going to say?
I have other comments, but I want to concentrate on the parking lot like we're doing.
Parking lot,
So,
okay. So then, what else, again, start to my left. Lou, any comments on the parking lot lighting at this point? Okay, Jeff?
So last night, I took a look at BJ's, Home Depot, Walmart, Target, what the lighting was like there. And I really felt that the way it's designed, and it's somewhat similar to what you're proposing here, although I believe on even higher poles, as you come out of the parking lot area, those fixtures become much less visible. And so I sort of see this as a somewhat reasonable balance of trying to keep light appropriate on site, containing it on site, not being so visible from surrounding areas. I'm looking at the visualization, which I don't know what page this is I'm looking at, but of what the parking lot lighting is going to be like, and I see where the hot spots are. And they're in the parking field, but as you get to the edge of the site, things look much more contained to me, and I don't think that there's going to be a lot of spillage. It actually, I was looking at something, and it looks like the wetland area is going to stay fairly dark, which is good for whatever winds up living in the wetland areas or lives there now at nighttime. So, fairly comfortable with what's being proposed.
Pat?
Based on the various illustrations on this PDF, I think it looks very good, very reasonable. So that's.
Dylan?
I don't have a comment.
All right, so is there anything else you wanted? Because that's the foot candle levels, and I want to talk about the Kelvin values.
Yeah, so that was just for the parking area
Right.
and near the building. If you recall, there's some rooftop areas
Yes.
which will also be lit,
So go down.
which those are provided
down.
further down in the PDF. Unfortunately,
think
the
it's
version I
page
had
12.
was very difficult to read because the mounting height cluttered the drawing.
I fixed it.
However, I was able to view some of the levels, and some of them, again, are pretty high. And I'm gathering from what Isaac was discussing earlier is that the computer program may be grabbing some additional lights from the building.
No, that was not on this version that you have. I said before that, we had to split it. I don't
Okay.
even know if I shared it with you because it was so confusing, the two fighting between the two. He looks at it at one level, so they're fighting the outside. But the ones that
So
you
this
have-
one is not influenced by other lights?
No,
Okay.
no, that's why we split it.
So there's a few areas where I'm seeing 13, I recall a 17 on the rooftop areas.
Yeah.
However, it appears that all the mounting height is about 4 feet. Is that correct?
42 inches, they are, because they're bollards, they're not really mounted, they're
So
bollards.
all the lights on the roof are bollards?
On the roof decks, yeah.
On the roof decks, right. So,
No light poles on the roof decks.
No, but you're gonna have like every building on the, whatever comes up, a staircase or whatever, you have just safety lights around it for people working around an air conditioning unit or, so the general lighting, which we didn't put in here because those are part of the building permit, but the deck, there would be minor lights, I mean, like every building. But the special lighting calculation we did with the deck, it's all bollards,
all bollards, there's no wall packs,
no wall packs.
just bollards, okay.
Yeah.
So,
Now,
to-
real quick, looking at this, and you didn't get this, obviously, because this just
not the
came
newest
through.
version, right?
Yeah.
This
So
is
this one-
showing,
Very low. And that's what I want to show you, that we try, I would go back to the one that he had, I could play with it in between, and we could commit tonight to do it.
you have a couple here that are high, though. A couple. Something seems to be off here.
No, it's
Seeing a
not all because it's a
49.3.
bollard.
I'm
so-
seeing a 49.3, so,
That's a problem.
Where did you 49?
oh, gee.
Is there?
In the,
But that's on your versions.
no, I
Yeah,
see
yeah.
that too.
Yeah.
On,
I have a 49.3 in the,
where are
in
you
this
looking?
area, but scroll up a bit,
Okay.
just a little bit.
How?
Down, sorry, I guess. Yep. It's on the version that I'm looking at, that 8.9
Yep.
is 49.3.
Yeah, because again, I mean, as I'm saying, once the computer model, it depends what light model is doing. So I think on the roof, if we could discuss tonight to leave it, I mean, we could approve it to a maximum light, that's what I would propose. Okay, whatever number you would agree. But I have no problem, but if it's bullets, I'm gonna add a lot of bullets, but you have very low numbers coming out. So I don't think you
The
would
other-
do on the
Let me
roof,
ask-
on the roof.
Let me ask this. Do these lights, so in the best of all worlds, it's going to be on top of the roof. It's going to be the highest point. I'd be concerned about how much light shed there is. And if we're going to actually see the bollards. I don't know if is there like
So go,
Parapet.
there
is
That's
there a
my
parapet
question.
that's going to hide it?
So two answers. Number one, yes, because the parapet is 48 and it's 42. But number two, well, it's exactly the same because the roof is 48 is the parapet, but the deck will be probably 6 inches above. So yes, the answer is yes. But there is a comment which we were told by, I think by Ashley, whatever, to add on the first page of this roofing, you'll see there that paragraph. You go back to the first page of this whole section, there is a comment that we had to put in, not really engineer, in order to make sure that he's using the lights that meets that. Look at the right side, yeah, that one. Dark sky compliance. I think that addresses your concern about the shade going out. Is that the case?
Yeah, because it has to be full, cutoffs and directed downward
that's
so that it's
why-
not going up.
Yeah, I think that's why the engineer is using only bollards and he's not using any pole lights,
Yeah.
column lights that are spreading because they would meet that requirement. So I think that's why he's forced to use bollards. So what I said, we couldn't do it obviously today, I'm going to add more bollards in order to get that balance because what you're seeing now is it was cut down to the numbers you want, but it's showing areas that are at zero, which we don't want. I mean, just to be on that roof, it's not designed to be very light. It is a more calm area, and it's not designed for people down or at other buildings to see it. So it is designed to be more of a very low light, but we don't want it to have it on zero. So at this point, since we dropped it in order to not have those high numbers, some of the areas got to zero, which means more bollards have to be added.
Can I ask you, are these tables, or are there going to be fire pits up there, or what? They're just tables?
The tables, they are on the picture, if we showed you last week, it's fire pits, but it's not going to be real fire pits, it's LED. It's those look of, that looks like fire, those, today you have those LED that shines and looks like a fire is burning. You go into buildings, you see it a lot, those type. That's what it's designed. If it's going to be in the end,
I mean, so some of these may, in the end,
create light.
so you're not going to even have .1 or whatever, just as amenities. So
Sure.
I wouldn't necessarily go add more bollards. Maybe see how it works out, and then if you need more, you could put in more, but I suspect you're going to have more than you think you are.
I could ask the
with those
engineer
features.
to add those, if he has them in his model, to
Yeah.
add those LED fires, which probably is available, and they could add it. So what I would say on that, I mean, let's discuss a number that we want to see the maximum, and if Ashley's okay with it, we should approve it based on that, and when we submit it, it should just meet those requirements, because I wasn't able to do it as fast to make those changes.
I mean, from my perspective, I would say 5. I think that's probably very doable, given the numbers you have. I think some of these actually may even be incorrect if you go back to the engineer, because it's odd that some of the bollards are around 1.9 or 3.4, and then suddenly they're 8.9. It's a very strange range.
Well, correct it is, because that's a computer that gave it out, but there may be that some other things that you just mentioned is not taken in consideration, as you
Yeah.
said, the fires. So what I would
But
propose,
I was just going to say, Isaac, but the fires aren't, they're not even programmed in here.
that you're probably right. And I
Yeah,
could
so,
ask the engineer to add
so
that.
if you have a 1.0 here, but then you have an 8.8 here, and there's not really any additional illumination source, it's a real oddity.
Because
bouncing
it's a
off the
type of a
wall.
light, that's why it's different. When you have a light that's
Yeah.
10 feet high, it spreads the light. When you have a ballard, it gives a very pointy
But-
lighting.
But if that was the case, all of these would be similar, because they're all up against, right? They're all up against that wall.
Okay.
So-
It was done in the last 3 hours, so I don't know exactly. I can't go back there, and I will. But
So-
I would be a little concerned doing the 5 a maximum. I would be okay to do the 5, but if we have a minimum of less than 2, I would probably say we should go to a max of 8. You could say you want an average to have them 5. Because if I commit today to 5 and I get to as many ballots with the 5 as I add, and it still comes out to spots of 0 or 0.1, I don't think you want to see that. So I think if we could rather have a number of 8, which would be comfortable, and 5 should be in general, and have a minimum of 2, I could work and get most of them to 5.
Yeah, I'd like to be at a max of 5. I think personally, this is up on the roof. I know it's being, you have the parapet, but I still think that there's going to be a certain amount of just glow that happens. I would like to see 5. I'd like to, this is my opinion, the board, may have different thoughts, but if it turns out that it doesn't work, I'm open to revisiting it, but I'd like to at least have a, again, dark sky compliance. 10 is not dark sky compliant, and I think that at this point, we're weighing and balancing shorter light posts, which, that's the trade-off. When you have the light, like for the parking area, the shorter light posts are resulting in then you having to put 4 luminaires on the post. So there's a trade-off there. So I understand that one. Here, because it's elevated on the roof, I'd like to be at 5, and if it's a problem for you to come back. The other question I was going to have, are any of these dimmable where you could adjust it? So if it's too low, you have the ability, we could talk about it, and you could just, instead of installing them, you have the ability to adjust it upward and downward. And I don't know. I didn't know if you explored that at all.
There is
So that there'd be
options.
more control over the fixtures and the light levels for the bollards.
There are options of dimmable on certain fixtures, but to say it at a planning board and put it into, I don't think you could commit to that. I could commit to that because it's what's available on the market. So definitely that if we have the option, it's always a better thing to have dimmable today, and some of the fixtures are, and even though that we know what fixtures they are because they were designed on particular fixtures. I've been there numerous times, especially with today's world with the LED, things change, you can't get a model, So you always have to have the words in there, equal. So when you get equal, specific, those general items are going to be available equal, but the dimmer, that's something that could be and not be. But I agree with you that if we can put a dimmer, we should put a dimmer.
So the planning board members, I'll start to the right. Dylan?
My opinion is I'm not understanding why the software is doing what it's doing. So to put a max or a min, I'm not sure how it would impact the client in the ability to provide sufficient lighting. So I think we need to get over that hurdle first before we can agree on a certain minimum.
Okay, so that right now you just don't feel that the plans are, because there's questions on them, we can't even rely on it yet to come to some conclusion.
That's my opinion.
Okay.
If I may explain that, so you should feel comfortable about that. How the program works, first of all, you pick a specific light and then the engineer goes and moves around that light on specific areas, adds more of them, less than them, height, plays with all of that kind of stuff. And when it's put in position, he could then balance and move around in order to get. So when we discuss here at night that it's going to be a maximum, the engineer gets that, which is being done not only by planning board, as a client, as a designer, they all require those requirements. I don't want to see more than 5, or I don't want to see more than 10. When they get that request and they get the plans, like you look at it, every designer looks at it, oh, I have a problem. Look for example, ballroom. You don't want to have specific lights above that because it's not going to look good. So they play and they move around things and use different type of bulbs. Sometimes they'll use dimmers when it's depending in the particular situation where they are. So I think I've been involved in a lot of projects, but specifically on this one, it's a long path that we took in order to get here. That was the play to do: add more, remove more, based on the requirements of you as the board. So I don't think that we would have a concern of fulfilling your concerns and your request about a number, as long as we get specific numbers. And that's why I had this discussion with Bonnie, that I felt give me the allowance of 8 in order that I should be able to play with it too. If she wants and the board agrees that it should only be 5, it's doable, because what I'll do is I'll tell the engineer, make sure you don't go above 5, and make sure that you have not less than 2 by playing with the positions of the lighting.
Thank you for that. I guess my position is, from your perspective, if we give you a max of 5, by the looks of what the software output here, you'd have to double or triple the bollards. So I think if we review the plans
First of all,
with a proper output,
if that's
we could make a better
the problem is getting to the plan and then go back to engineering. So if we get advice, I could rather do that and make sure that the building inspector, we follow it. I don't think the word would be doubling it, because you could see areas that are, I don't know exactly this, as I said, this was done in 2 hours, he did it quickly, but I think there's a lot. From my quick look is that I had some comments that I felt could be moved around and do a better job. So for example, if you have 2 lights and they're 20 feet and you have another light that's further, if you make them in a better position, they spread their light better. So I would say, again, that's my opinion, that if you give me specific numbers, I could commit, not me, but the programs can commit, because I've seen that the last 2-3 years on this one, I have other ones, that they're capable today of playing around enough in order to accommodate numbers that designers, architects, engineers, and boards are requesting.
I would just say it seems to me 5 may be very doable, because there's not a lot of fixtures that are really above that max. It looks like if you look around the perimeter of the lighting levels here, you have a 7.3, you have an 8.8, but then the majority of them are like 0.6, 1, 0.5, 2.1. So there's something going on, I think, with the program. And frankly, I think if we say 5, these levels may actually come up if they all decide, if he specs them in as 5-foot candles. But again, I think it's to Dylan's point, do we pick a number? Do we need more information before we pick a number? and because you feel like we're a little,
I feel comfortable to accommodate your request by numbers. If you want to jump to the other file, you could show them actually the J, because you see the J, that's actually not this file. Jump to the other PDF that I sent you with the actual specs. You're going to see the actual J, so you can understand. Yeah, roll, this one. Yeah, no, the other one. Roll down all the way to the bottom. I think the J is, everyone is labeled. You see, that's the A. No, I think it's all the way at the bottom. This one. This is what that's what the J is. So that gives you a better understanding why this is more complicated in candle or balancing it than other lights, because it's so spotty, it just releases that light surrounding it, and that's why. But again, I feel comfortable that by him placing it in the right place and doing it, as long as I give him the specific requirements, and the reason why I feel comfortable, because I've done it till now, and we succeeded at. So I don't think we have to come back with the board for that. I mean,
I wonder if it's even as, and I don't know what the is, but is one bollard maybe 6 inches closer to the wall than another one, that it's suddenly, banging off luminaires?
it all plays a big difference. If there's objects that block it, there's the ceiling. The computer takes everything in consideration. So
Because we're not so zoomed in, but when you really zoom in, it may be that it's off by a foot, or it's
Yeah.
off by, and that makes all the difference in the world.
yeah, it's as I'm saying, it's a computer model. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of things that plays, and that's why if you see the differences that it doesn't match, it has an answer. The computer gave it out for a reason. So that's why if we get numbers, we could definitely get and accommodate those.
I don't know that with these fixtures you have a big issue of glare. The way the cap is above the light sort of flares out a little bit. The cap is wider. It's going to project the light down towards the ground. It's really mood type lighting. And if you've got a 40-foot, 48-inch parapet, and the lights tops will be at 48 inches, when you're looking from the ground, you're going to have no concept of that. I don't know that you'll know that there's any light spilling off the roof between the parking lot lights, the building lights, and when you're looking at an angle like this, that light spillage may not be visible at all. So I guess when I'm looking at these roof decks and how they're designed and what you're planning on using them for, or the client is, it reminds me of being up on a cruise ship deck out by the pool at night when the lights are dim and quiet and relaxed and a calm atmosphere. And the problem is I just don't know what the foot candles are in that situation. I don't know whether 5 is the lighting effect. I know 10 is somewhat harsh in hot spots. New York State ATM regulations require that in front of an ATM, you have at least a minimum of 10 foot candles. And if you stood at night in front of an ATM, you know it's quite bright.
Like a daylight.
It's
That's what it's intended to.
Right, because it's purely for safety purposes, that you can see not only what you're doing, but anyone coming at you around you.
That's typical for gas station canopy lights to be equally. That's what's often recommended. One quick question related to who's going to see this. The apartments that are next door, are they still below the height of the deck, or do any of the upper levels look down on the deck? It's too high up, right?
No, we did once in the beginning a comparison.
They're
not
below.
higher. Yeah,
Okay.
there was a chart that showed at the beginning of the
The
project.
ones that are higher up on the hill in elevation will be blocked by the ones as you get closer to Monroe Commons.
Correct.
It steps down, but it only steps down incrementally.
Yeah, because they just started building the one that's up front again.
Mhm.
That's closer
Yep.
to,
Right, but as you get closer and closer to the property to Monroe, lower, you did show us the
Yeah, we had a graphic both ways.
size
For
of this
example,
building.
is there a time period when you're going to turn the lights off?
On the roof?
Yeah, I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
only
If
at
we
the
have hours
using
of
time.
operation?
Yeah, I think we discussed, I mean, whatever the town, I think it was on the noise, the same thing, whatever the town allows.
I was just curious because of,
I
again,
can't
the
commit now what
residences.
the owner is going to do in the end, but I would say whatever, I mean, my only comment would be whatever the town requires. So if the owner is going to have people that they can't sleep and they want to go up and just relax a little, will they have it on? Maybe, I don't know.
Want to say 5 for now, and then if you
Yeah.
need to adjust, you can come back?
Yeah, I don't think it's a big issue. I mean, it's going to,
Yeah.
especially with the fires, they may.
And then we can, I think 5's going to be decent, actually, for the max. And then you're going to work with the bollards you have if you need to put a few extra bollards in. But again, I have a funny feeling it's something with the program, or where the bollards landed on the graphic.
No, it's like you said,
Yeah.
there's areas that it's being trapped in and it's
Yeah.
it's shooting back more lights, reflecting.
All right,
I don't mean to take up all of our time, but just a couple other things. So there are 4 light fixtures proposed on the VMG property, so those will need easements to install. I know there are other easements that are necessary, so just making sure that the language for those easements incorporates the lights. It did not appear that there is sufficient light for the pedestrian connection to VMG, meaning, and by sufficient, I'm saying at least a half a foot candle.
We didn't, if you remember at one point, I mean, the lights that are going into VMG was just there in order to show, I think one of the board members asked, how is it going to look? But we didn't plan the lights for once we go out of this property, because we relied on them. So the walkways are in VMG. They're going to need a separate, design.
There is a sidewalk connection through this parcel,
Sure,
right?
That is correct, yes. But we didn't design lights within that place. We just showed how it's going to show. They're going to add lights whenever they want on their side. It's a walkway that goes in, but it's not in our property.
So you're saying, no, well, no, because there's sidewalk on Monroe Commons.
Oh, on the lights, on the site of Monroe Commons, we have sidewalks because it connects all the sidewalks
Right.
going into VMG.
Correct.
But though, once it passes our property, they're going to have their lighting for that plan. We didn't submit that.
Understood, but on the Monroe Commons property, I don't believe there's sufficient light levels.
are you
on-
talking about right in here?
No, he's more at the sidewalk where it's neighboring to,
This is
South.
farther south? I think that was the south.
the upper one. You got to go up.
That was the south.
Yeah, I think go
Going
up. I
up.
think it's one before. That, I think there,
Maybe.
there, that one, all the way at the left.
Over here?
Yeah,
Up a little bit.
This
That's
is
the
this is
driveway
cutoff.
connection.
this is the sidewalk where she has the pointer now.
And then this, here's another one.
Yeah, so here you have the full length because that's not blown up. So you go the whole length. He's commenting on the sidewalk that's on the left side, all the way neighboring
Hey,
to.
I'm sorry, I think you're correct, Isaac. I think I'm looking at the VMG property and not the Monroe Commons property.
Yeah, that's where that's why Manny keeps showing over there. But if you look right at the neighboring, where the lights are at the edge of the property,
Because
that's the sidewalk.
So I guess that just needs coordination. So is VMG responsible for the pedestrian area, whereas
their
you're
side.
responsible for the roadway in VMG? I guess
No,
that's,
we didn't even go in. The reason why we showed those few lights I think there was once a light that didn't have it going in. I don't remember who raised it that we need to show, but really, once we go into VMG, it's their obligation. We just need the easements. But
Right, so I guess I'm confused. Why are you responsible for the roadway connections, lighting those, but
we're not.
VMG
We just
is?
showed it on the plan because I think there was once that one of the board members or somebody asked it was too light or too less light, so they wanted to show it that it works and it goes in. So it's not that this is going to be part of our obligation. Once we get to past our property, that's the Monroe Commons obligation, but it does show it on the plan in order to show the flow, how much is. If we would do zero, would show there, I mean, if we would do it an amount and then you go in a little, so we showed it that,
Understood on the model, but so the lights that are shown right there that are on VMG's property,
correct. That's
those
not
are
us.
Monroe Commons' responsibilities to install.
Correct.
Why would Monroe Commons not be responsible for the pedestrian, lighting for the pedestrian path on VMG
That's
property?
what I'm saying, once it passes, not on VMG's
No,
hours.
on
So where
VMG.
do you see not on VMG? I think the only thing not on VMG, which is on us, is the actual sidewalk going along the property line. Once you go in a little, I think the property ends 20 feet.
Those two lights up there,
Yeah,
those are on the VMG property.
those are on the road. That's the entrance road of VMG. The reason why we showed
Which
them.
Monroe Commons is responsible for installing.
Not sure, no, they're not.
You're proposing them on the plan.
I'm showing it because we wanted to show how it's going to be with the candle lights, that we're not showing the last light on the edge. And that's what I'm saying, there was a model without it. We added it to show how it would be that whole turn with the lights that's going to come in. That doesn't mean that Monroe Commons is going to install them, but that's how
So
it
you're
would
not,
be.
you're not proposing to
When-
install these?
Not on our side, no, it's not Monroe
So
Commons, that's
you're,
VMG.
even though you're showing these, you're not
We're
installing?
showing to show the actual, because it's interconnecting to our model, we showed it to show it as what candlelight it will be.
But are these proposed? BMG has said
Of course,
they're
they're going
installing
to put
these?
it in, they're going to put them in.
Okay, so I think just the map has to be revised.
To
Are you
So that's
putting-
for,
are you-
this
are-
is for informational purposes only,
Correct.
not for Monroe Commons to commit
Site
to
plan.
install
Of
those
course,
lights.
it's not in town of Monroe, yeah.
All right, so are you putting any lights on BMG on the property?
We are not putting, but they're
Okay,
going to put
that's
it.
all. You're not putting any lights on BMG?
No.
Okay, so any
Okay.
lights need to come off?
Right.
Yeah, because you're not proposing them.
Well, I could put a note that it's not our spot, but you want to see it because of the candlelight will change, and then we're going to start going into,
And
it's
that's
too light
fine.
or it's too
That's
dark.
okay,
That's
it's
okay.
not on your property.
It's not on your property,
You're
so
not
it doesn't
installing
matter.
it, it's okay.
Okay, no problem, I'll move it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We just need to know what you're doing on your property.
So that easement note goes away as well.
Correct. Well, yes, but there's anyway going to be an easement because I think in the.
For lights, the easement for lights goes away.
Unless you want the option to install them, but then we need to know that.
No,
If you don't, then they'll come off.
No.
Okay.
And then really the last main comment is that the plan have to be signed and sealed by a professional architect or engineer.
once we give them the final, that it's okay. I mean, obviously now that I'm getting the advice what to do, I'll make sure that the engineer signs off on them.
So applicant should advise if a parapet will exist on the roof. So we'll add a note that there'll be a parapet and what the height is?
Yes, it's on the
Okay.
plan now, but yeah, you could add that note.
Okay.
Comment 10 is just a standard note that actually Mark crafted, gives the building inspector authority to have the applicant lights and shield lights should.
So I think he added it now on this version to page, I think, 6 and page 15, I think it's there. But however, I mean, it will be on the final version.
All right, so I want to just touch upon, not foot candles, Kelvin values. So is everything proposed at 4,000?
The general lighting, not any lights on the building is 3,000.
Buildings on the lights on the building are 3,000?
The facade,
Yes.
yes. as
And
well.
then
The canopy also
And the parking lot?
is 4,000.
Okay, so what's going to be 4,000? Let me ask it
All
that way.
general lighting of the parking lot is 4,000.
Okay, but everything else will be 3,000?
Correct.
So parking lot lighting means pole-mounted lighting. So all pole-mounted lighting is 4,000, all building-mounted lighting is 3,000.
Correct.
Board members, are you okay with that for Kelvin values? Parking being 4 and lighting on the building being 3? And I brought these up, but in general, the higher the Kelvin value, it goes from stark white to blue, which there's a certain town hall that we both go to that has very blue.
Bill Kelly must have did.
But as you get down into the 4s, the 3s, it's a softer yellower color. And in general, higher Kelvin values are more disruptive, so you try and aim for the lower values. So here you're putting in a mix of 3,000 and 4,000s. So, Dylan, any comment on the Kelvin values?
No.
Pat?
Satisfied with it?
Jeff?
I'm comfortable.
Okay. And so we'll reflect that in All right, so are we ready for that? Are any other comments? Anything else you want to raise? We just went over the lighting plan. Obviously, we haven't reviewed
That's
this
the
newest
lighting.
one.
There's also,
There was some clarity I needed, though, as far as the waivers, because I know the number of poles that were over 25 feet had been changed.
Are they all 25 now? Or some of them are 25? or-
I'm not,
Yeah.
Some are
I think
25,
it is
yes.
there.
Some are,
25.
are they all 25 or some less than?
It's in the email, let me see, I did get that number. I think it's in the email that I sent you. No, her, I mean, she, yeah, I think the number is good, he looked at it, so, I mean, I forgot to ask him when it was out, the engineer, if that's the actual, but if you took it from the plan, then that's the number. I could. Yeah, I would just use those numbers for now. I mean, I think that's the number. You did it, you put it in. Isn't there the numbers in?
I counted 45.
Yeah, I saw a number.
And then also, it was breaking down, explaining how many were in the main southern parking area and how many were in the northern.
Don't have it. I don't know. I don't have it now. I mean, it's in the plan, but I think he was supposed to send it to me, and it's somewhere, but it's gonna be now too quick too. Let me see. Let me ask him if he got it.
any of these values change lighting?
Isaac, does the new lighting plan that you submitted change the number of poles?
No, that not from the last one we submitted. This is the same number. The only thing we changed is up on.
On the roof?
Yeah. We also didn't change
Oh,
actual.
and
I
near
didn't
the
add
building.
any light or took off any light. What I said earlier that we added light was before this version. This version that we submitted last meeting, it's the same thing. We didn't change anything.
Okay, so comments or statements such as maximum of approximately 6 to 9 foot candles at the property line, that remains the same. So should we run through this? Yes?
I actually, if you want, I lost count. Can I send you the version? I just made a couple of changes based on what was discussed.
Let me know when you send. we go. Run through it before. Items to discuss.
You have this one comment.
So this is the approval for the lighting plan and authorizing tree removal.
If we have comments about the tree portion of it, should we raise that now, or?
Let's wait till we get there. So at our meeting this evening, following resolution was introduced. So a little history that the applicant had submitted for a site plan, description general of the property, that it was subject to SECRA, and that was completed. And the approval resolution required the applicant to satisfy certain conditions, and that one of those have to do with approving the lighting plan. And so this lighting plan was just submitted, so this is going to be a different date, correct? It's not going to be September, right? Or is it?
Still dated
I don't think we have a
9/17.
copy.
You didn't change?
No, I didn't.
You guys didn't get, I just literally got it
Yeah.
when I
Yes,
walked
I
in.
mean, I don't know if, do you want to go off that one, or if based on what, I would say go off the one we had.
And then,
And then here, we're specifying changes to be made. So what other changes were made on this one that?
I think it's Sean's comments mostly.
Yeah,
I
so
think
this,
if we can
there's
use
a
Sean's
condition to
comments-
But we'll
address
leave
Sean's
this as
comments, so by
is.
that, it would be,
okay,
because I don't think we want to approve something you haven't,
right, because what we're going to sign is going to reflect all the changes anyway.
Correct.
yeah.
Okay,
I think one of Sean's comments is that it should be part of the site plan, which will be, and that's where it's going to be, so.
so the approval resolution requires applicant to comply with the tree removal restriction. Given the date of the approval resolution, applicant has requested permission to property prior to the signing of the plans, as it will be unable to satisfy all conditions of the plan signing prior to March 31st. So then now therefore be it resolved. So the first set of findings have to do with the lighting. That we are waiving the maximum height of the fixture. Well, this is describing what the requirement is, correct? So the maximum height of a fixture shall not exceed 20 feet. Illumination level shall not exceed .05 on adjacent residential property or .1 on adjacent business property. And so here we have to allow a total of 45? And you know how many within, do we need to say how many within each
I
parking
think
area?
we'll own it, it'll,
As shown on the plan?
So you don't need that number, paragraph 1? I think he was gonna try and see if we can find out, but if we don't need it, we don't need it.
I think as long as we
it's
have
like
that
in the
it's,
parking areas as shown on the plan.
yeah, 25-foot poles.
In the parking area as shown.
It's in the parking areas. Site plan. Allow illumination for light fixtures at a maximum of 6 to 9 foot candles at the property line for the driveway entrances. Maximum of .9 at the property line near the 2 shared driveways with VMG. Maximum of approximately 2 to 5 at 9 locations along the property line with the adjacent undeveloped village of Woodbury. And then we approve the lighting plan as identified above. Exterior lighting shall utilize dark sky friendly fixture with shields to prevent light spillage onto adjacent areas. Shall not exceed 3,000 Kelvin, except for pole-mounted parking light fixtures which shall not exceed 4,000.
Is that 2A that you just read? So did you just change it?
No,
I just made changes based on what we were discussing.
Okay, I'm just saying,
Before.
because it was different in the
Yeah.
version.
this is what I just downloaded. Comply with the ID, I think it's SA standards, International Dark Sky. Standards to limit light pollution, all pole-mounted, wall-mounted lighting downward directed. Roof deck lighting shall utilize dark sky compliant bollard style fixtures. Lighting plan should be revised pursuant to the town engineer's comment memo as follows. And as follows, remove the light fixture shown on the adjacent, is that how you spell VO?
Can you read these provisions, because this isn't in our version?
Oh, sure. Well, it's up there. Can you see that? Yeah, we have the other one over there. Do you want to just,
I could look at it, I could see. Lighting plan, that one?
can you see it?
Is required, should be.
We'll get yelled at if we move it.
Prior to-
Don't move.
Yeah, that
Okay.
makes sense. Yeah, that's.
That's what we just discussed. Add a note indicating the height of the parapet. And the lighting plans revised should be incorporated into the final plan set prior to the signing of the plans. And so the G and revised. Okay.
Not revised, removed.
Removed. Yeah, I have it stricken.
I'm saying, you just said they were revised, but they were removed.
Yeah, they're
Yes,
removed.
those conditions dealing with the easement on the VMG property and the approval of that,
Are removed.
those are removed since they're not
applicable anymore.
proposing those.
Be it further resolved, okay, so this is where we get into the tree clearing. Applicant shall be permitted to cut trees on the property prior to signing the site plan, subject to the following: issuance of the following permits approvals prior to commencing any tree removal, land activity permit from the stormwater management officer.
Is that, can I just ask, is that different from the, I mean, is that just the MSS, MS4?
MS4.
Oh, I didn't, I thought we weren't using these. I was just clarifying, is that the MS4 sign off on the SWIP?
Not. A is an actual permit that's issued by the building department.
Is there anything other than we need to do than we've already done? I mean,
Performance bond.
Yeah, that
Right.
isn't part of it, yeah.
right, and that's the next requirement.
No, he's talking to, whatever. Performance band is different than the fee.
Oh, right.
That's
Chapter
referring
40
to chapter 46.
There's requirements in chapter
Okay.
46.
That's what he says, performance guarantee.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
So I don't know if there's anything. I mean, I'm just wondering if 1A is different than 2A.
Sorry?
1A is different.
1A is specific to the bond, so, which I mean, obviously you would need to post the bond in order to get the permit, but it's just spelling them both out. So one is getting the permit from the officer, and then the second, 2A, is actually requiring the posting of the bonds.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
So B, DEC,
Yeah.
general permit for stormwater discharges from a construction activity.
She's not there.
2 is posting of the performance guarantees in the restoration bond. 3, payment to the town parkland account for the trees.
Can we just clarify that that's pursuant to the existing version of the town code?
Because there is a code there that if we replace a tree in another property, that is 350 versus 700. Now, not that I have the plans final now, what we're doing exactly, because they're still valuing obviously we have to put the bulk table of all the trees that exist, and we'll submit it together with the landscape plan that's final. But we were planning that this is on the existing tree code that has that allowance. So it just says here 750, it should be as per the existing code that was at the approval time.
Are you saying you're proposing to plant trees on other properties?
No, I'm saying the existing code allows us to take trees and put them, to plant trees on other properties. We want to have that. I don't want to commit now that we're not going to do it. I'm not saying that we are doing it, but if there is an allowance to do that, we want to make sure that this is not binding us from the existing tree code. So whatever, if you could add the words, whatever the existing tree codes, or the 750 should be as per the existing tree codes, I feel comfortable because we have the rights that the
Well, no, not to-
It just has to be, so this is going to, so let's think about this. So for them to move forward with clearing, they have to abide by whatever the tree code requires at the time that they do that.
I think it's the tree code that's
So,
at the time of our
planning board of the
approval.
isn't that?
well, you're
isn't-
going to start tree clearing.
Yeah, but
right?
whatever.
In November?
I don't know when, but,
The purpose of this is to allow you to remove trees before March 31st within the bat period.
correct. If
So that's
things-
what you're seeking to do.
Exactly. So if it takes longer, we hope to get the sign off before that. But if it happens, then we're safe. But isn't the tree court going by when the approval of the project were?
But it would go by when the plans are signed based on, that's when you get final approval.
That's when it goes.
Yeah, so when I sign the plans, you're going to have to live with whatever the standard is at that time, right?
So if we-
Unless the land development permit is pulled first.
Well, so that's,
Yeah, because they have to pay the fee before getting this permit, so before doing any clearing. So
right. So,
whether
So
it's 750 or if
basically
you,
they're
so at
losing
that time, when you're going to, before you clear, you're going to have to, that fee's going to have to be calculated. So
so this
we
is,
hadn't discussed the 350 fee if you're planting elsewhere, but that'll have to then be, those trees are going to have to be planted, or that's going to have to be, established at the time you pay the fee.
so this is a separate approval. And this separate approval incorporates if they want to move forward with the tree clearing. So once this gets signed, that's when everything gets triggered for the trees, when they want to move forward.
So then
No,
why?
Isn't it when we start?
No, she said earlier, it's not that. It's when the site plan approval is get.
I'm
that's
trying
when
to
it goes.
figure out, because this
So-
is a separate approval for this, so they may move forward, and I haven't signed the site
So if
plan
they
yet.
pay, so
They're going to have to
they
pay.
move forward to plant, or to start tree clearing, the code is what the code is today. They pay whatever fee is required under the code as it is today. If then the code changes and the fees change, they're not going to get a credit, and they're not going to have to pay more, whichever way, it would go, because they've already had paid.
So we're just to confirm, we're basically stuck by the code as it was at the time we got our approval.
No, she's talking about today. She's saying that. by
I mean, you go
code,
forward
she's
with the
committed
tree
when she
clearing and you
signs the map.
execute
So
this
now when she's
approval.
going to approve this, she's getting.
So,
We're committing now to this number.
so if,
Now to this,
no,
No.
so if you pull the land so let's say
Land
you
activity
decide to
permit.
wait until February, because you know you're going to get the plan signed in February, then that would be when, at some point, they would have had to have addressed the fee before I signed the
Before
plan.
signing the map, correct. So that
So-
just gives you earlier.
Right, so if you tomorrow decide you want to cut trees, to meet these standards, you're going to have to put the fee in, it's going to be what the code is now. If you wait till February and the code is changed to meet that condition, it's going to be whatever the fee is in February.
It could be the same if the town board doesn't adopt, or it could be whatever the
It could
new
be
code
different.
is, yeah.
So we could either add this one comment, the 350, I don't think there's anything in the tree code that would, the dead trees, Ashley took care, she put that in. So we could either add it to this and have this as the control, or,
I think that.
I guess the issue is, so if you were planning on replacing elsewhere, that's something that had to be on the tree plan and had to be part of your tree plan review.
Well, so I think this particular condition has to be structured in a way that says the parkland account fee shall be paid in an amount, prior to conducting the activity or something to that
That's what
effect.
I think that's what it does.
Prior to
Under-
commencing
of
any tree removal.
Yep.
So you think that's clear, so whenever they pull the permit for the tree removal, they're gonna just have to live
Have
with
to
whatever
pay
that.
with the fee,
Yeah,
pay the
that's
fee
what I
at that
understood.
time.
But
Okay.
my only concern was that it's not, it's open, it should be that whatever the existing code is, and my main concern is that 350, because we may wanna,
The planning board under the tree law, the planning board, if you were seeking to take something down and plant it elsewhere, the planning board has to approve that as part of approving the tree plan. So
Fine,
that
that's
hasn't been done, so
That's why it's 750.
fine, but do I have the right to come back and show you that we
Yes.
wanna?
yes.
Okay, that's what I wanna make
It's
sure.
written as if, because nothing's been proposed at this time.
I'm just
Okay.
trying to, is there a separate permit we need to pull?
It says
pull the
here, I
trees?
think.
Or is it just, this is it?
Sorry?
Is there a separate permit we need to pull to cut the trees, or?
In advance of site plan approval, yes.
that's the chapter 46.
That's the chapter
saw it.
46.
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay, so it's when we pull the chapter 46.
If you're doing it in advance of the site plan approval.
Which may not be, if we just wanna be protected.
It's giving you the flexibility to cut the trees before March 31st if you don't have the signed site plan.
Unless you don't want it, and we don't need to.
No, we want it because nobody knows, and we don't want to get into April and be stuck. I mean, that's,
Yeah, I think, it'll be what it'll be when you decide to pull whatever permit. All right, move on?
Yep.
Okay, so we talked about that, installation of the erosion and sediment controls. We said compliance with the stormwater permit, compliance with the seeker finding statement. No tree cutting, no tree cutting shall occur on the adjacent parcel in the Village of Woodbury, which is part of the project site, without approval from the Village of Woodbury Planning Board. And that is it.
For the town.
Should be under, or it could be 4.
Posting of the following prior to commencing any tree removal.
Is that really associated with the tree removal or with the
Yes,
land
'cause we're
activity permit?
The tree removal is going to trigger the need for erosion and sediment control reviews.
Okay.
So paragraph 4, you would amend to just say, including establishing any necessary escrow or something for review of this.
Want to put it in 4, or you want to put it under 2? So put a C in? And what will that be?
Escrow for the review of the S&E soil and erosion control plan, right? Is that what it is?
no inspecting, I think.
Or inspections for, right.
Related to soil erosion, sediment control?
Half of the town.
Ask you still have a question that you wanted to change. Let them vote. And you can let them vote and just say we have another.
Oh, for that one? Okay.
So maybe we could bring that up and discuss that.
Do you want to just?
No, because Ashley's not going to be able to focus. We have that request about changing. We want to bring up a request to change the language of the original resolution about the building permit. So I
Okay.
don't know if we should wait maybe for her.
Well,
to,
so I don't know if we're going to entertain that tonight. We had asked for a
Should
letter
be-
or something
Okay.
for a formal request, but we can talk about it and see how we want to proceed.
Okay.
Only because it hasn't, Ashley has, I don't know how big it is, and Ashley hasn't had a chance and Sean to
That's
think
good,
about
as
it,
long
so
as we
we'll,
discuss it.
yeah.
It'll say, be 2C, it'll be escrow deposit in an amount determined by the town engineer to cover costs for inspections related to soil erosion and sediment control measures on behalf of the town.
But could you read it again? I'm not going to write it, just for the benefit of the applicant and us. Initial escrow deposit.
Initial escrow deposit in an amount determined by the town engineer to cover costs for inspections related to soil erosion and sediment control measures on behalf of the town.
Understood that?
Yep.
Comments?
No.
Board members? All right. Would someone please make a motion that we approve the resolution approving the lighting plan and authorizing tree removal from Monroe Ninninger LLC, subject to the changes we made this evening?
So moved.
Would someone please second?
Second. Give it to Jeff.
Aye.
Pat Shea,
Aye.
Bonnie Franson,
Aye.
excuse me, Jeff Manson,
Aye.
Lou Revere.
All right, with that, the motion carries, so that's addressed. And so the applicant has a request for a change that I just said we may or may not entertain because we didn't get advance information and, but I'll allow you to present the request.
So, we're, as you just given us approval to start, to cut trees during the time, we'd like to start doing site work. We wanted the ability to get a foundation and structural permit. I think it was our understanding that that was the intention, that we could start getting a foundation permit to start doing site work. So we want the language, there's language in paragraph 10 and 11 on page 17 of the resolution of your board's site plan, special use and land, wetlands permit approval. So we like it so that we could pull a foundation permit while we're still pursuing all the other agencies' approvals, so it doesn't inhibit our ability to start doing the foundation work, because the foundation is essentially going to be the retaining wall, so we can start doing the work on the site at this time.
Let me try to clarify what Dan just said. I mean, there's a paragraph 11 and 10. On 11, when we worked on the language of building permits, that certain things in the approval should be pending on the building permit, certain things should be at the site plan. The intention was that since things may take longer, for example, the water, that we shouldn't lose another half a year. We usually, and let me step back a second, on an average site, you get a site plan approval, you move ahead, and you go work on your building permit, submit it, and get the building department. There's work to do to get building plans correct, what it's required according to New York State code, and that gives you the time in a normal site to work on that. We worked very hard the last 7 years to design this project within the hill, so we have the tiers of the first, second, and third that are working in. That is a good plan, but in construction, it causes that the actual foundation is part of the site work, which is acting as a retaining wall of the fill. With that causes us that when we get a site plan approval, we cannot exceed with more than minimal work. So when we did the water, obviously my intention, and I was understanding that's going to be across the board, that the building permit will mean the building permit, and that's when Sean and Ashley, they went to actually to whatever the building inspector's name is, to ask him if he would be okay with it, and he was okay that since this is a particular site that has that topography and the acting of the building that was designed, we're going to get actually the site plan and the foundation, and be able to submit for a foundation site, for a foundation permit, and wait for all the other agencies to approve when we get the actual, and that's when we'll be able to get the actual building permit. When we saw the final resolution, we found that we are actually seeing that only page 11 made that wording to be correctly, chapter 11, but the other 10, which has all the other agencies, they were just said building permit without pronouncing it or having that language that's from 11. So what we're asking is to make that one paragraph, 11 and 10, so when it says in the bottom that this would be pending on a building permit, it would have the same language, that the building permit means the final building permit, but the foundation permit, which is part of the site plan, site work, would be granted together with signing the site plan. If that
So
clarifies
that language was inserted in specifically for the, to allow that to occur before getting approval from the county with regards to the water and the sewer, and confirmation that there was adequate capacity. So that's how that was proposed, and that's why it wasn't in that initial one. I think I would say tonight you would not be prepared to make that change. If they want you to consider it at a future meeting, you can, but I think those approvals are something represented that would take a longer time. It would take a lot longer to get the approvals from the county as opposed to the others that were required. So, for example, one of them, I'm sorry.
Well, I
These are things that, they should have been pursuing this whole entire time, so I think tonight I wouldn't rush to any decision.
Yeah, and I'm okay with leaving it for the next meeting, but I would like the board, to understand at least why we're requesting that. If you look at some of those requests, for example, Orange and Rockland, to get that they have enough power, we all know that they're going to give us the power. To get a letter from them, I've actually started working on it. We are working way ahead of the game with the submitting them the actual load, but as we expected, they're saying we never give such a letter. I will get such a letter because you requested that in your requirements, but it may take time. So if we get things sorted out in the next few months on signing off the site plan, we'll be just stuck because of, let's say, D is not.
I think it would be good if you could perhaps go through each of those and explain why you're seeking it for each of them, and why some of those might take longer, some of them may not. And when doing that, you could explain what you've been doing before the other boards in the village of Curious Joel, Town of Palm Tree, Village of Woodbury, to pursue those approvals so that the board understands your status to date.
So I could do that.
Yeah, I think it's without seeing this in writing and us having a chance to look at the resolution again. I just think we need something in writing, so we'll entertain it. I just think that we need something concrete to understand what you're asking for.
I'll do that, but if do you want to go it over now, or you want to leave it for the next meeting in writing after?
No, we need it in writing for the next meeting.
Problem. So I'll explain each one of them why we believe that it may take longer, and we want to make sure that we could proceed with the site plan. And
Or to tell us which ones you absolutely will take a long time and which ones you think you could get in advance.
Okay.
It may not be an all or nothing thing, maybe
No,
there's,
maybe not.
you know what
Yeah,
I'm
there are
saying?
some, but it's
So
okay.
just think it through and then let us know,
Okay. We'll submit it for the next one.
And then, because that means we have to put a resolution together, and so we need a little lead time to consider this, and then if we're going to make a change, to put the paperwork together.
Okay.
All right?
Perfect. Thank
And
you.
we'll consider it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Oh, that's coming up? Okay. All right, so next item on the agenda is 80 Raywood Drive. Good evening. Introduce yourself for the record.
Hi.
And you can give us an overview of what you're
Hi,
proposing.
good evening. My name is Shloy Miguel from Hartman Design. If I may ask, I have here two applications, 81 Raywood and 94 Seven Springs, and the owners of 94 asking me if we can exchange that because they want to be able to leave.
Which the order of these?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So you're okay with waiting so that we can entertain the other application?
Representing both.
Oh, you're
I have
representing both. Okay.
So the owner of 94 asked me if we can first discuss that.
Right.
Should be able to leave.
Is that okay? Yeah. Okay. All right. So you'd like to do 94 Seven Springs first? Okay.
Okay, to give a recap of 94 Seven Springs, we was in front of the board a year ago, almost a year ago, and we stopped off by the request for the exterior design and the materials, and some comments on the tree plan and the site plan. So it was taking long till the owners finished up the design. Now we are here with the finished design. And at the same time, we have worked on the site plan, and we have submitted all the comments, what we had a year ago, all the answers, how we answered it. We are here in front of the board here if any additional comments.
So we'll start with our engineer. Sean, what comments do you have?
Sure, so if you recall this one, which it's been quite some time since this has been before us, we had done or witnessed the septic testing for the site, which was adequate, and we were waiting on the certification from the applicant's engineer for the septic system, which they've since provided, and our office takes no exception to. Kind of skipping ahead since we're on septic, my comment number 7, I have minimal comments on the actual design of the septic that just need to be addressed. It's more or less, we'll say clerical drafting in nature rather than, details, not anything that would not support the septic being viable.
Okay.
I have, again, a few notes there on the tree plan, which we don't have to dive into. But again, I offer, similar to the other application we were talking about before, Monroe Commons, the code does allow some relief from the fee if you plant additional trees, if there's room on the site. Number 4, the EAF has the Indiana bat habitat nearby, and therefore the tree clearing has to be restricted to November 1st through March 31st. That's the issue you'd. At number 5, I asked for a note to be added that the unfinished offices and storage not be used for bedrooms. That should be added to the site plan. Next, the elevation. Some of the elevations were not clear exactly as to what the finishes are. Siding color and type, window type. I guess. So generally, those finishes on the drawing.
Okay.
I asked for a demolition note be added to the plans since they're demolishing the existing single-family house. 9, the applicant did provide a letter with regards to the well, reuse of the well for the additional bedrooms, which I take no exception to. Number 10, just making sure that the site plan and the architectural plans match square footage-wise in total for footprint.
Okay.
And size per each unit. And then lastly, we would take no exception if the board wanted to schedule the public hearing this evening, but obviously, Ashley.
Thank you. So, Ashley?
The applicant did submit a dedication document for the right-of-way that's going to be dedicated to the town, so they'll need to submit an irrevocable offer of dedication, and that goes to the town attorney to review. I believe they also require a deed, actually, for the right-of-way portion as well.
That's something we could,
Yes, that's something that could be
okay.
Same issue with that tree preservation note on sheet 1, the end of it seems to be cut off a little bit. The same issue that we had on the prior plan. The tree plan does need to go to the MCC, and I don't know whether the board wants Karen Arendt to review it as well.
Do we have a,
I guess it would be if they were,
are you thinking of adding landscape?
If we have a landscaping plan,
But do you-
we didn't plan to plant trees according to what we taking off. The applicant, if the board will want to replant something, they will do. But the attention of the owners was that it's still enough trees on the property. It's a big property, so they will pay the money for the trees what they take off.
Okay, so they're not proposing to replant at this time? They'll just
No.
pay the fee?
Yes.
Okay.
But if the board will ask for, they have no problem
To-
to put some trees.
Okay, so,
That is
Talk
it. You
about
do
that.
need to schedule a public hearing on the application.
board members, to my left, any comments? Jeff?
The only comment I had was there's several trees around the far side of the garage for Unit B, particularly the three in the side yard setback, that I was wondering if there was any way to preserve those. Yeah, the three to the right of the, yeah. Those three that are being removed, if they can stay, would help provide screening to the adjacent building, and perhaps the one or two along the line as it goes around the back of the building there that are also being, I see because of grading that, quite a few trees need to be changed, removed around the entire building, with the exception of that one portion that doesn't really seem like it is getting graded. And I was just wondering if we could preserve any of those trees, particularly the ones between the new structure and the adjacent building.
It actually seems like a lot of trees are being removed, and I'm not sure that it's entirely due to the grading. Do you have a sense of that, Sean, or?
Yeah, because there's not significant amount of grading proposed, so that's true.
So I think that that's something, I don't think that has to necessarily hold up the public hearing, but I think between now and the public hearing, we should just look at this carefully and compare it to grading and see whether in fact a lot of this removal is even necessary.
So my engineer will also, I will tell him tomorrow to take a deep look and see again if it's possible anything to save. You should be able to save.
Because I think it'll, frankly, it'll save you money.
Correct.
And it is our objective to keep a kind of
Most
wooded
possible.
look. Yeah, so.
Correct. I respond also one of the comments that you see some of the trees in the footprint of the building.
I think that was an older comment, no?
It's from today, the 30th September. But
On
if
this-
you can see, it's smaller trees from the 6-inch.
Oh, that's why they're not darkened?
Yes.
Okay, I see.
And also about the Indian bath, we have the comment on the front, on the first page, on the right bottom side. On the side.
I have the
corner.
note.
Okay. Okay, I think everything
That are
else.
less than, the ones that you said are in the footprint, but they're less than the 6 dBH. Is it clear from the plan that those are being proposed? I mean, of course they have to be, but I'm just wondering if there's some kind of X over them or something that,
Okay, we can ask them.
Maybe just have it provide two symbols, one that says it's under 6 inches, the other one that's
Okay,
over
no
6
problem.
inches.
We can do that.
No comment.
No comment.
So I think the landscaping we can work through, but I don't think that has to stop us from scheduling a public. So would someone like to make a motion for us to schedule a public hearing for 94 Seven Springs Road, two-family proposed residence?
Moved.
Or, when's our December regular meeting? For December 17th? Second?
Second.
Ben,
Aye.
Pat Shea,
Aye.
Bonnie Franson,
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
So we'll have our public hearing in
December
December,
17th.
and then,
Walk through
in the
this-
meantime, we'll explore the trees.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and now we're going back to 81 Raywood.
Yes.
Okay, so, Sean, where are we with comments on 81 Raywood?
So the applicants substantially addressed our previous comments. I left a few just, last minute items that have to be done before final approval. First of all, as you recall, the water is being provided by the Village of Curious Joel. There was an agreement that was filed in the county clerk's office for the applicant to be an outside user. Since this is modifying that agreement, I just asked that that agreement be reviewed by Ashley to make sure that there's no modifications necessary. Next, the applicant's engineer provided additional calculations for the additional stormwater mitigations. Those will have to be incorporated into a revised SWIP, and then the NOI filed prior to beginning construction. 4 is a technical comment trying to direct some of the stormwater. 5, so I don't believe the tree code was in, I'm sorry, there was one more tree that's being cleared beyond what was previously approved for the subdivision that created this lot. So just making sure that that gets paid for.
We have free plan, we have proposed.
Proposing an
Yes.
Oh, you are, okay. So as long as that's the case, then that comment goes away.
Okay.
Next is making sure that the stormwater maintenance agreement for the site gets filed in the county clerk's office. Next is a note that adding to the plans that the unfinished basement should not be permitted without further approval. I did say by the board. I think that's an incorrect statement. It should be without
Building
a
department.
building permit.
So is it,
Will not be finished.
okay, out, by,
A building permit. It doesn't necessarily have to come back here if they're going to propose a game room in their basement. The
But-
concern is the number of bedrooms.
right, so the note should say, except that any additional bedrooms would come back for our review then, maybe? Only because of the septic part of it.
Well, this is on sewer, so the septic
okay.
concern is not there.
Okay,
However, the site plan specifies number of bedrooms.
okay. So they have to get an amendment.
Correct.
So if we want to add any bedrooms more than in the site plan, that we have to come back. But just to finish the basement, we can go to the building department.
Game room, or
Can go to the building department. Okay, that's fine.
I prepared a draft resolution. I sent a revised clean.
yeah, they're both dated
Probably has my initials at the end.
11/13.
Yeah, I sent it.
The clean one's without my initials dated today.
Okay.
Without my initials.
Out your initial,
Is that?
but this says 11/13, although it came at 11/14.
Oh, I think,
or
okay,
48.
that's, yeah,
It?
that's it. Who's going back in time?
Before we go to this then, any comments from the board with regard to this project? Anything? No?
It's an attractive building.
Okay. So, resolution of approval, site plan special use permit for Bays A Properties, Inc. Has applied for approval of a site plan and issuance of a special use permit to allow for a two-family to be constructed, 5 bedrooms per unit. It'll be on Lot 1 of the subdivision plan for Bays A Properties that had been previously filed in the Orange County Clerk's Office. Each dwelling unit will have a 1,940 square foot footprint and served by municipal water from KJ, and public sewer service will be provided by Orange County Sewer District Number 1. This is 81 Raywood Drive. The properties in the SR10 Suburban Residential Zoning District and the two-family overlay district. There is a recitation of the plans that have been submitted. The yellow one is,
I'd highlight that, that's the lighting spec that was submitted, but there is a condition tied to that regarding the Kelvin value. So the spec has something higher than 2,700, so there's a condition though that requires that to be.
okay. So history, the application was July 24. This is probably deleted. Public hearing convened October 15, 2024, and closed on the same date. And type of action, this is a type 2 action under SECRA. This is exempt from Orange County Planning Department review. It was referred to the Village of Curious Joel and the Town of Palm Tree pursuant to 239 NN. Find that will substantially serve the public convenience, safety, and welfare, and that'll be subject to condition. The A through G are primarily standards permit. Get into the finding. Application dwelling will be connected to public sewer. One driveway shared by both dwelling units, and the driveway width does not exceed 24 feet at any point within the front yard. No grading removal of natural vegetation for the first 50% of the required front yard closest to the front lot line. And the applicant is proposing new trees and will be required to maintain all planting in a healthy and vibrant condition as a condition of this approval. And we find that the architectural review, or based on our architectural review, that we found compatible environment, parkland, payment in lieu of parkland fee. Plans do not identify necessary public improvements. And then we have specific conditions subject to final engineering review. And then shall amend the stormwater pollution prevention plan. And then there's some revisions, delineate the bounds of existing utility and sewer easements, add a tree preservation note.
I would just point out, I know you have the tree preservation note on, but this, I added some language in there since now you're removing one additional tree, so there's I tweaked the language a bit, so if you could make sure you change it to this one. Because you had the tree plan approved on the subdivision, but now that they're changing it, so combined, they're the new tree plan.
Okay. Condition upon Village of Curious Joel supplying water for the two-family dwelling.
That related to one of Sean's comments, so I did look at the agreement, and the agreement at the time it was proposed, the development had a single-family dwelling on this property, so while I think it could allow the village to supply water under the agreement, it doesn't obligate the village to, the way it's worded, so that would need to be amended or a new agreement or supplemental filed.
Okay.
But it could use, it should track the same exact, everything that's in that, just to make clear that it's for a two-family.
Understand, okay.
Parkland shall be paid prior to signing of the plans. We'll execute a maintenance easement agreement.
So there was, I believe, an existing stormwater maintenance agreement for the subdivision, so I don't know whether that is sufficient to cover what's on, any new stormwater provisions that's on this lot, or if it needs to be changed. It does, yeah.
Prior to issuance of building permit, shall provide the building department with, from KJ of the design, water extension, comply with the DEC tree removal restriction that allows you to do that between November 1st and March 31st. The design shall be as shown on the elevations we received. Light fixtures shall be no more than 2,700 Kelvin. And same comment that it's dark sky compliant. I think it's IDSA, but I'm not sure. All landscaping trees to be maintained in a healthy and vibrant condition for the duration of the use. Replaced in kind, substitutions require approval. Relies upon a drainage study. And so you can't put in a structure larger than shown unless a new drainage study is submitted. No disturbance of the lot are permitted beyond what's shown in the site plan. You'll need a curb cut permit from the town highway department. Certificate of occupancy won't be issued until the improvements in landscaping is completed, as well as you need the highway curb cut has to be closed out. We only allow what's shown on the plans. And then there's a variety of general conditions about meeting other laws, et cetera. Our standard. So that, I guess these are probably holdovers from.
I was just predicting.
Although member Garstack is in here. All right, so would someone please make a motion that we adopt the site plan and special use permit for Bezay Properties, Inc. for Lot 1, for a two-family dwelling on Lot 1, is it? Yes. Okay.
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Dylan Penn,
Aye.
Pat Shea,
Aye.
Bonnie Franson,
Aye.
Jeff Manson,
Aye.
Lou Rivera.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're
Good
very
night.
welcome. And so when you satisfy the conditions, I'll be informed and then I'll sign the plans so you can move
Okay.
forward, okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank all the board members.
Have a good night. Okay. Next item on the agenda, rescheduled December submission date. So what are we the 26th?
Yeah, it's scheduled for the 28th. That's not going to work because nobody's going to be at work.
Not coming in?
No. And then I was going to move it one day, the 27th, but I am scheduled off that day. So we have to move it to the 26th so that I can get Sean's packet out. So I need a motion to redo that.
I think you have it posted, you had adopted it originally, so.
Might as well. All right,
So moved.
I'll second it. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any nays? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, so now minutes. Are there any minutes here that that were yours, Jeff, that we can go through?
One we need Bob
13th, right?
Garstack.
That's just, so,
No, there's only three more. June 18th, Bonnie, Jeff, Dylan, Lou, and Bob.
So with that, I'll make a motion that we adjourn the meeting. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays, any abstentions? Motion carries. This meeting